Mic check 1 2 1 2. All right, cool. What's up? Thanks for watching Top Class Tutorials. I'm going to be doing a live mixing session for PIcasso AV on a song called Take Your Shirt Off. I won't be doing the full mixing live. When I start getting into the plugins, it gets a little bit glitchy and delayed, so I will just be talking about general setup, I/O, settings, routing, playback engine, bit depth, and all that stuff. So some pretty basic things, but maybe also some advanced concepts or ideas as far as routing and signal flow and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and kind of talk about some of the things that I'm doing here. I don't think you can see my screen exactly what I'm doing right now, so let me add something here. Display capture, no. I want to do application capture. Let's do Finder. Okay, so you can see a little bit more than what I expected you to see. Let me just blow this out, then you won't see it. Okay, it's fine. I guess if you should see that, it's okay. Okay. So you'll see in here, I have the session already downloaded. Okay, sorry about that. My microphone went out, waiting for it to come back. What I was saying is, I already have the. Let me see what I can see here before I go down this road. I have the stems already downloaded. They're on my desktop just because it makes it easier to work with. I'll probably at some point transfer everything to my external hard drive that I work off of. And then I have everything in here. So it's just kind of all the WAV files. And I get sessions like this all the time. A lot of times you ask clients or artists to send a session and they don't know how, so they just bounce everything out and they send it over to you. So pretty standard stuff. So the first thing I wanted to do was find out what the sample rate and the bit depth was for these audio files. I found out that the sample rate was 48 and the bit depth was 24 bit. The bit depth, I mean, the bit depth and the sample rate are kind of irrelevant at this point. Once the audio files have been printed, then there's no getting more quality out of it. So I try to stick to whatever the sample rate was, and I'll just do 32 bit depth just because I always do 32. I mean, it's not going to change the audio file or anything. It's just going to give me, a little bit more headroom in the way the audio is processed in the DAW. I/O settings, I like to use Stereo Mix for Pro Tools. It kind of resets the I/O settings. So when I open up a session, sometimes, I got, weird routing things going on in there and I don't want them to transfer over. Mic check 1 2 1 2. All right, so I'm having problems with my camera, so I'll just have the microphone on. You won't see me, but you'll be able to hear me. So basically I found out what the sample rate and the bit depth was. That helps me know kind of how I set up my session. So you'll see here in my sample rate I have 48, and then in my bit depth I decided to go for 32 because it gives me a little bit more headroom and a little bit more um, just information for the vocal or the files. So I got a name, Take Your Shirt Off. We'll go ahead and hit create. And mic check, 1 2 1 2. All right, cool. I moved the camera a little bit closer. You should be able to hear me a little bit better. I'll be able to move this. So I got this window that popped up and it's asking me where I want to save my session. Like I was saying earlier, I work off of an external hard drive. It's called TopKlass, and I save everything in my Dropbox folder, and then I have a Pro Tools Sessions folder within my Dropbox folder. That way, everything that I kind of do as I'm working on it will automatically be uploaded to Dropbox as I'm working, which is pretty helpful. I do need to disable sync, which is what I usually do. Sorry, I'm over here doing something in the background until tomorrow. So we'll pause syncing until tomorrow. That's perfectly fine. Pro Tools sections, and the artist is PIcasso AV. In my Pro Tools folder, I do everything by artist. That way, when an artist comes in, I just know go to their folder just immediately. I don't even have to think about it. Their folder's already open usually when they get there, so I have all their sessions right in front of me. And when they're like, "Hey, can we open up this or can we work on this?" Boom, right there, done. So we got a couple songs in here. We're going to do a new song, so we're going to save this as Take Your Shirt Off in the PIcasso AV folder. We'll hit save, and it will go ahead and do all of its Pro Tools initial setup. All right, mic check 1 2. You can still hear me good. So this is where things are going to get a little bit glitchy. I apologize, but Pro Tools has got some issues with the new update for Macintosh computers. But this is my template that I kind of work off of and use for. Let me turn this off. So yeah, this is the session template that I use for setting things up and working on mixes, recording, tracking vocals when I'm doing, you know, tutorial things like this. And I already have my microphone set up in a way where you can hear it and it's not causing feedback in the studio because I have just the microphone right here in front of the speakers. I don't like to use headphones when I'm working, and so if you're interested in learning how I set that up, um, leave a little comment below, let me know, and I might make a tutorial on it just to kind of show you how to set a headphone send and a talkback mic up for doing your tutorials in Pro Tools. So this is my mix bus, or not my mix bus, my mix template. I have all my instrumental tracks like drums, bass, and everything routed to an instrumental group. And then I also have all of my vocal effects routed to a vocal effects group. I have a lead vocal bus, background vocal bus, and a recording mic already set up in the booth. We're not going to be using that, so I can go ahead and just deactivate it and turn it off or delete it. Typically, I don't delete tracks. What I do is hide and make inactive. I do this because this track's already set up with the routing and everything, so it doesn't make sense for me to delete the track, and then if I need it, I have to kind of create the track all over again. It wouldn't be terribly difficult but it's also just, about being proficient and saving time. So my next game plan, or my next move that I'm going to make here, is import these audio files. Now, the way that we're taught in school, and really the best way to do it, is to use the import audio window. So if you hit Command Shift I, the import audio window will pop up, and I just navigate to the folder on my desktop, stem, export, and then click on one file and hit Command A to select everything and select convert, and it will drag everything over into clips to be imported list. Now remember when I was saying it's important for you to kind of figure out the sample rate of the audio in the beginning? Well, Pro Tools is really smart. So whatever sample rate you set your session at, even if you set it at 192 kilohertz, if you import audio, what it will do is it will resample all of your audio into the correct sample rate. And that is important, because if you don't do that, your audio is going to play at a very, very strange speed, if that makes sense. It's kind of a cool little trick you can do, where you basically do something at one sample rate, and then when you import it into another session, you don't convert the sample rate, and it'll either give you a really fast or a really slow audio file, depending on which sample rate you're going from up or down. But that's a whole nother topic. Anywho, point is, I figured out what the sample rate was prior, so there's not going to be any sample rate conversion. Now, if you do need to do sample rate conversion, make sure this apply sample rate conversion is clicked and the correct sample rate is selected. And I always, 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 always have this set to tweakhead slowest. I'm not really in a rush when it comes to importing audio. I need it to be as top quality as possible. So I'm not, gonna skip that step. I'm gonna make sure it gets it in as good of quality as it possibly can. So I'll hit open, and by default it will ask me where I want it to go, and it automatically chooses the audio files folder within the take your shirt off folder. Now this is where a lot of problems happen, is if you put it in the wrong folder or the wrong location, or if you're saving things on your desktop, or if you're saving things on an external hard drive, because a lot of people just think, oh, well, I get to select where these audio files go, let me put it on my external hard drive because I don't want it on my computer. But then when you go to open the session, you might see missing audio files or things like that. Mic check 1 2. All right, cool. You can't still hear me. Good, good, good. So yeah, you don't want to have missing audio files error come up. That's one of the worst damn things you'll ever see as an engineer, I swear. I haven't had that problem in a really long time, but every now and then when I run into it, it absolutely frustrates the hell out of me. Because a lot of times it's with the lead vocal. I do stuff with auto-tune, and a lot of times auto-tune is like glitchy, especially if you start freezing your tracks and things like that. I don't know, for some reason when I freeze my tracks, I close my session and then I open it back up, and the auto tune is just like messed up or whatever. So anywho, so we'll set everything up to new track session start. That's an important one. New track session start, because we want to create new tracks, and we want all of the tracks to be at the very beginning of our session. So starting at 0 minutes and 00 seconds. If you do want to do some of these other ones like selection or spot, you can. Typically, I just do session start. And you don't want to do clip list if you plan on, having tracks, because all it'll do is just import the audio data into the audio folder. But, excuse me, it won't put any of the audio files in your session. It will just import them in the audio folder, and you won't be able to see them, hear them, or edit them. So new track, session start, hit OK. Creating tracks. This sometimes takes a while. especially because my computer has been doing glitchy things lately due to the updates. Just let it do its thing. Okay, cool. Move this microphone a little bit closer here. All right, here we go. So, you can see there are some tracks that look like they basically have nothing on them. Be careful. Those sometimes are like reverb, and the reverb's just really quiet, and you don't hear it. So sometimes you have to just solo it out just to make sure. But what we'll do is click this top track right here, and these are all of our audio files that were imported. And so then we'll select the bottom one by holding down Shift, and it will select all of our tracks. And then we can just grab those and move them into the instrument group because I want all of these to be in the instrument group. Now, some of these might be vocals, so I might have jumped the gun there. But typically, I think most of these should be. Well, actually, let me actually look and just see because it might just be a 2-track in here. This doesn't look like a stem mix. I think that's the 2-track right there. But if I had to guess, that's definitely the 2-track. So it's going to the master. I'm selecting this track right here. I want to see what it is. Something that's important to know before I get started, I need to see what my playback engine is set up at. So it's set at a hardware buffer size of 128 samples. I'm going to move that up because when I'm mixing, I need it to be as high as and I'm also going to look at my mix bus, which has a limiter on here because I initially want to see kind of overall volume where that 2-track sits. I don't want it to be hitting, I don't want the meters to be hitting 0 while this 2-track is playing because then I'm going to have issues with mixing it later and I'm not going to have enough headroom. So ideally where I want the peak to be is kind of somewhere in the middle. I kind of like it in this light blue area right here, but I don't like it to be really close to this orange part right here. So I'll play this beat in solo and just kind of get a gauge of how loud it is and just to see if this is the 2-track. And the other thing is I need to route this to my mix bus. So what I'll do is click on the output, and then if you go to search, just type in mix bus, and it'll route it. And that's because I have my IO set up to where things are named. So all I have to do is just type in the name and it will go to where I want it to go. Makes it super easy. Before in Pro Tools, you had to, you could name it, but you couldn't really get to it quickly. You still had to navigate to it manually. Adding that search function that was a game changer for me. That was awesome. So now next thing is we'll play this and check the levels on our limiter here. Okay, awesome. So this is dope. We're kind of at a good level here. We're not clipping. The limiter's not doing anything except just bringing the level up to a good enough volume to really hear it. And that's an important thing when working on a mix. You want to get it as close to the finished product as possible to get a general idea of really kind of how it's going to sit frequency-wise and kind of tonally. You'd be surprised at how your mix sounds good, and then you try to bring it up to mastering level, and then all of a sudden it starts to get a little low end and rumbly, or it gets really shrill and the vocals are piercing. So it's a good idea to try to get it as close to the final volume as possible. Now, where I kind of shoot for is the standard, which is around -14 LUFS. I don't try to get this exactly at -14 LUFS. It's just a good starting point. A lot of meters have this now, a lot of limiters and other things have this. It's pretty standard now. I set my ceiling to -1 dB because I don't want to get close to clipping any of my my outboard gear. You send too much signal to your speakers and you end up blowing your speaker, specifically your subwoofer, and that sucks. I hate having to change out the subwoofer, but um, it is what it is. So try not to do that. So levels I shoot for are -14 LUFS. I don't want the limiter to be doing anything. It's just used to bring up the volume. And that's pretty much it. So now that I have an idea of kind of where the volume is going to sit, I'm going to select all of these bus tracks that I have here, because these are groups that I would route the stems to, but since I don't have the stems to this beat, we're just going to hide and make these inactive. Again, not deleting them because I went through a lot of trouble making them. It would not make sense to really do that. So we will assume that probably everything else are vocals. Now I can't 100%, say that's the case, but from looking at them, they look like vocals. There's pretty big gaps with blank audio space. I don't see any drum pattern looking audio files or anything like that. So I'm just assuming here. All right, so let's grab all these files. So holding down Shift, we'll select this top file here and scroll all the way down, holding down Shift, and select this bottom one. And then we will move these into our vocals area. Now, what I'll probably do is just drag them all the way to the bottom right here. And you see how that orange line kind of goes all the way to the top? That means it's dragging it outside the folder. And when I do this, the orange line doesn't go all the way to the... Yes, hello, buddy. Hello. Hold that thought for 1 second. Hey, buddy. You gotta go away. Come on. All right, I'm going to be pausing my microphone temporarily just while my son is in here. And then I'll get back to this in a couple minutes. So sorry about the delay. You know, daddy duty, man. For all you fathers out there, respect. It's tough being a dad and doing this music thing, man. Um, so back to what I was saying, we get all of our audio files in the correct location, and then I'm going to select all of them again, and then let's make this smaller so it's a little bit visually easier to grasp. So these are all of our audio tracks. I have them all selected, and then I'm going to route all of their outputs to the lead vocal group. They're not all lead vocals probably, but I still want them all to go to the lead vocals just to get started. At some point we'll figure out where the lead vocals are and go from there. So now set up peripherals. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a